I'm Lena Hartwell, 28, living in this cozy little town in Vermont, where the winters are brutal and the holidays feel like something out of a Hallmark movie. You know the type: snow falling softly, the smell of pine trees, and the warmth of your fireplace keeping you snug while the rest of the world gets covered in a blanket of white. Christmas here feels like a dream, a fairy tale where everything is perfect and everyone is just happy. At least that's how it always felt, until today. I was chatting with Emma, my best friend, like we always do when life slows down a little. We were sitting in my living room, the smell of cinnamon and pine filling the air as we discussed our plans for the upcoming holiday. It was the usual stuff: who's doing what for Christmas Eve, whether or not my mom would be making her famous mashed potatoes, the usual cozy traditions that made this time of year so comforting. "Have you and Derek figured out what you're doing yet?" Emma asked, pulling her legs up onto the couch, curling into the pillows like she always does when she's getting comfortable. I smiled, running my fingers through my dark brown hair. "Yeah, he's planning something special. I honestly don't know what it is, but he's been acting all mysterious lately. It must be nice to have a guy who's so into the holidays." "My ex couldn't even remember my birthday," she said with a teasing grin. I laughed, taking a sip of my hot chocolate. "I guess I'm lucky." Emma nudged me with her elbow. "Lucky? Girl, you're spoiled. A man planning surprises for you, making your Christmas that much better? Sounds like a dream." I nodded, but for some reason, a tiny unease settled in my chest. It was a strange feeling, one I couldn't quite place. Maybe it was the way Derek had been acting the past few days, so distant, yet so loving. Maybe I was just overthinking things, but the thought nagged at me. Just then my phone buzzed on the coffee table. The screen lit up with Derek's name, a simple text message from him. "I've got a gift for you this Christmas, something special I've been planning for a while. Can't wait for you to see it. D." I stared at the message for a beat longer than I probably should have, feeling that strange unease grow inside me. Emma, always the one to tease, noticed my hesitation. "What's up? Is he sending you a sneak peek of your present?" I gave a nervous laugh and held the phone up to show her. "He's being all mysterious again. Says he's planning something special." "See? Told you you're spoiled," she teased. "A guy who plans surprises for you? I wish." But instead of the excitement I was used to feeling when Derek did something sweet, all I could think about was the nagging feeling that something was wrong. I tried to shake it off, but it lingered like a shadow creeping up behind me. "Does he always act like this?" Emma asked, her voice quieter now. I looked up at her, trying to brush it off with a casual smile. "Yeah, he likes to keep things exciting. But something feels off today." I hadn't told Emma about the odd encounter I'd had earlier that afternoon. Derek's colleague James had been acting strangely the whole time we were in the same room. There was this tension between us, an undercurrent I couldn't ignore. I mean, James had always been a little distant with me, but today it was different. His eyes kept shifting around, avoiding mine, and when I mentioned Derek, his smile had faltered for a second, just long enough for me to notice. "Maybe I'm just imagining things," I said, hoping Emma would brush it off, and for a moment I thought she would. But she didn't. She set her mug down, her eyes narrowing. "What do you mean? What happened to James?" I hesitated. "I don't know, it's just a weird vibe. He seemed a little too interested in me today. And then he just looked away when I mentioned Derek. It was strange." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Ah, that is odd. Do you think it's anything serious?" I shook my head, trying to laugh it off. "Probably not. It's just me being paranoid. James has always been like that." She didn't seem convinced, but she let it go. "You're probably right. But keep an eye on things, okay?" I nodded, though my mind was still stuck on that strange encounter. But as I pushed the thought aside, Derek's text popped back into my mind. What was he really planning? I wanted to ignore it, just enjoy the holiday, keep things light. But something was telling me that this Christmas wasn't going to be anything like I expected. And now, as I sit here in the quiet after the storm, I can't shake the feeling that something has shifted. That text, Derek's mysterious behavior, James' odd look, it all feels like pieces of a puzzle I can't quite put together. But one thing's for sure, this Christmas will be the start of something I never could have predicted. A twisted gift of revenge that will change everything. But why do I feel like I'm the one who's about to be played? Life with Derek had always felt like the perfect dream. I'm in my late 20s, living in a cozy home we picked together. A modest place in Vermont with white walls, overstuffed couches, and a kitchen always smelling of fresh baked bread or cinnamon. The kind of place where the world outside feels distant, and all that matters is the warmth inside where everything fits just right. We've been together for 4 years now, and honestly, I couldn't ask for more. Every holiday season, Derek goes all out as if trying to outdo himself each year. I remember the first Christmas we spent together. He gave me this beautiful silver bracelet, engraved with the coordinates of where we met. It was thoughtful, something that showed he listened, paid attention to the little details. Since then, things only seemed to get better. He'd been my rock, my partner in everything. We decorated the house together, cooking meals and laughing over the mess we made in the kitchen. We talked about our future, about buying a bigger house someday, getting a dog. Simple dreams that made everything feel secure, like nothing could ever go wrong. Derek was my world and I was his. The holidays brought out the best in both of us. As we hung lights around the house, I'd always catch Derek sneaking peeks at me with this smile that made me feel like the luckiest woman alive. We exchanged thoughtful gifts every year. Nothing extravagant, but always meaningful. This Christmas, however, felt different. Maybe it was the fact that it was our 4th Christmas together, or maybe because of the quiet way Derek kept teasing me about a big surprise he had planned. Something about the way he said it made me feel like it was going to be special. He'd been planning it for months, he said, and insisted I stay out of the attic, the place where we'd stored everything for Christmas, until Christmas Day. At first, I figured it was just another surprise gift. Maybe an engagement ring? We talked about marriage in passing, and I thought that would be the perfect gift. Or maybe he was planning a surprise trip to the cozy cabin we'd visited last winter. The idea made me smile. I wanted to believe that whatever it was just another one of Derek's sweet ways of showing me he cared. But as he told me to stay away from the attic, I felt a strange little knot in my stomach. A feeling I couldn't quite shake. Okay, Derek said, his voice light as he grinned at me, hands on his hips. This is the part where you stop snooping around. I'm giving you a Christmas surprise and I want it to be perfect. I rolled my eyes, a playful grin spreading across my face. I'm not snooping. I'm just curiously waiting. He leaned in, his breath warm against my cheek. Stay out of the attic until Christmas morning, okay? You'll love it. I promise. I watched as he walked away, carrying boxes of decorations up the stairs, humming some Christmas carol under his breath. It was hard not to smile at how excited he was. I've always admired how he made the holidays feel like magic. But as I stared at the empty attic door, I felt that same strange tug in my gut. Maybe it was just me. Maybe it was my own need for control, my desire to know everything always. The days leading up to Christmas passed in a blur of festive decorations, shopping, and laughter. Yet there was something subtle, a shift in the air that I couldn't ignore. Despite Derek's charm, his sweetness, something gnawed at me. His gestures, the teasing, the mystery surrounding this grand surprise, felt too perfect, too carefully constructed. I started doubting myself. Was I overthinking it? Was I just imagining things because of my own insecurities? Derek had been the perfect boyfriend, always thoughtful, always present. But now, as I stood by the kitchen counter, stirring a pot of hot cocoa, a chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the weather outside. I kept telling myself to stop, to let it go and enjoy the holiday like I always had. But the feeling wouldn't fade. It lingered in the back of my mind like a shadow, refusing to be ignored. Maybe it was just the fact that I had been so swept up in the romance of it all. Maybe it was too much of a good thing. Maybe I was just tired or stressed about all the holiday prep. But something inside me kept wondering, what was Derek hiding? Late one night, just a few days before Christmas, I caught him slipping out of the house, his phone pressed to his ear. I didn't think much of it at first. Derek worked long hours and I figured he had just been catching up with work or a friend. But then the strange part came. When he came back, he was almost too cheerful, his movements a bit too light. It was subtle, but it was enough for me to notice. The next day, I ran into one of Derek's colleagues at the store, James. He greeted me with that familiar smile, but something was off. He seemed distant, almost avoiding eye contact, and when I mentioned Derek, his smile faltered for a moment, just a fraction of a second too long. I brushed it off at first, telling myself it was nothing. But it lingered in my thoughts, picking at me like an itch I couldn't scratch. Later that night, as Derek and I snuggled on the couch watching Christmas movies, I felt an unfamiliar weight in the air between us. He kissed me on the forehead, smiled that perfect smile of his, but I couldn't help but feel a distance, like something was slipping through my fingers. As the days to Christmas drew closer, Derek's excitement only seemed to grow, but my unease continued to grow with it. His secret gift, the mystery of it, became an obsession for me. Every time he mentioned it, I couldn't help but feel a ripple of discomfort. And yet, I told myself to stop, to trust him, to let it go and enjoy the holiday. After all, we were supposed to be building a life together, weren't we? But as I lay awake in bed that night, staring up at the ceiling, I couldn't shake the feeling that Derek's grand surprise wasn't going to be a gift at all. It was going to be something far darker, something that would change everything. I just didn't know how or why yet, but I would soon. Christmas morning finally arrived, draped in the soft glow of festive lights that flickered against the snow outside. I had been excited, expecting the joy of opening something thoughtful, something meaningful. Derek had been all smiles, full of charm as he placed the beautifully wrapped box in my hands. His eyes sparkled with that knowing glint he always got when he had a surprise up his sleeve. "This is it," he said softly, his voice a mix of anticipation and warmth. "You're going to love it." I smiled, my heart swelling with affection as I peeled away the paper, the scent of pine and cinnamon still lingering in the air. It wasn't the usual lavish gift, but there was something undeniably special about how Derek had wrapped it, each fold perfect, the ribbon tied with care. Inside was a sleek, modern-looking tablet, not something I would have expected for Christmas, but nothing that struck me as unusual at first. It had Derek's handwriting on a note that simply read, "Press play. It's all for you." I frowned slightly but did as he asked, tapping the screen to start the video. The small device hummed to life, and a familiar image of Derek appeared on the screen. His smiling face filled the frame, his eyes warm with affection. He was in a cozy sweater, surrounded by twinkling lights. "Hey babe," he began, his voice soft and loving. "Merry Christmas. I just wanted you to know how much I've been thinking about you. You're my everything. I know this Christmas means a lot to both of us, and I've been working on something special for you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. You deserve it." I felt the warmth in his words, the familiar safety of his presence, and I let out a small breath. But as the video played, something began to shift. His voice started to waver, a subtle change that tugged at my gut. The next words I heard were not from Derek, but from me. My voice. A sudden jolt ran through me. My heart beat faster as the words I never thought would reach me began to echo from the tablet. "I'm scared, Derek. I don't think you love me anymore. There's this emptiness inside of me, and I don't know what to do about it." The voice continued, weaving together my deepest fears, moments of vulnerability I'd never shared aloud, my thoughts spilling onto the screen, words I had only whispered to myself, my secrets bared for the world to see. "I feel so alone sometimes. I need you, but I'm not sure I even know who you are anymore." The camera zoomed in on my stunned face, my hand trembling as I held the tablet. How did he have this? How could Derek possibly know all of this? My breath hitched and I felt my stomach twist. Derek couldn't have heard me say those things, could he? I felt exposed. My thoughts, my fears, everything I'd kept locked away were now being shown to me in the most intimate way possible. But the video didn't stop there. It switched to another scene. This time it was a recording of me with James, Derek's colleague. James and I had spent time together on occasion. Nothing more than casual conversation, but enough for Derek to suspect. "What?" James' laugh filled the screen, light-hearted, as I spoke to him in a quieter, more vulnerable voice. I was sitting on the edge of a chair in a dimly lit cafe, and James leaned in, listening intently as I spoke about my relationship with Derek. "I just feel so disconnected, James. Derek's always so busy. I don't know if I can keep pretending that everything's okay when it's not. I'm scared." James didn't say anything at first, but his face was kind, comforting as he listened to me pour my heart out. I saw it. The desperation. The loneliness. The exact words I had thought would never be shared. And then in the video, Derek's voice cut in, cold and calm. You see, Lena, this is the gift I've been preparing. I've been watching every move, every conversation. Everything you've shared, it's all part of the plan. My heart stopped. It was like the floor beneath me had vanished. My world was shattering in slow motion, each piece of my trust, my love, dissolving right in front of my eyes. The video continued and it became clear. Derek had been playing both sides. He had been carefully listening to my most intimate thoughts, manipulating my feelings, and using James as a pawn in his twisted game. All this time I thought I was the only one Derek trusted, but I had been nothing more than a tool, a part of his elaborate plan. I watched, unable to look away as Derek's true intentions were laid bare. This Christmas was never about me. It wasn't about making me feel loved or cherished. It wasn't even a surprise to celebrate our life together. This wasn't a gift. This was a weapon, a calculated strike meant to destroy me emotionally, to break me down. The camera focused on Derek, his face smug, cold, almost detached as he revealed the truth. This was always about getting to James, he confessed in the video. I knew Lena would doubt us. I knew she'd feel alone, and I knew exactly how to get her to trust him more than me. My heart plummeted. I couldn't breathe. I had been playing. Derek had pretended to love me, all while orchestrating my emotional destruction from the inside out. The moments we had shared, the laughter, the affection, had all been lies. Derek had been leading me on, pretending, while making moves on James, setting the stage for a final act of betrayal. I felt like I was suffocating. The tears came without warning, and I didn't try to stop them. The camera zoomed in on my face, capturing the heartbreak, the raw devastation. My body shook as I pieced together the puzzle. How long had Derek been setting this all up? How much of our relationship had been a lie? Was anything real? Everything I thought was solid crumbled around me. My future, my dreams of growing old with Derek, all of it, was gone. I stared at the tablet screen, at the smiling faces of Derek and James, both in on it while I had been none the wiser. How could I have been so blind? All those late nights he spent working late, all those secrets he kept. It was all a part of his plan to take me down, emotionally strip me of every ounce of trust, until nothing was left but rubble. Derek had been playing me all along, pretending to be my loving partner while secretly planning my downfall. The gift he gave me wasn't a symbol of love, it was a calculated blow meant to tear me apart from the inside. And now here I was, holding the pieces of my shattered heart, watching my life crumble into nothing. The camera focused on my face one last time, capturing the pain, the betrayal, and the raw emotional wreckage Derek had created. I was no longer the woman who had trusted him with her life. I was someone else now, someone who had been destroyed by love. And I knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same. I don't recognize the woman I've become. The betrayal cut deep, deeper than anything I could have imagined. It was as if someone had torn out my heart and stomped on it without a second thought. The trust one had built for 4 years with Derek? Shattered. But the worst part wasn't the heartbreak. It was the realization that I had been played, manipulated, made a fool of in ways I never thought possible. I sat there, staring at the tablet where Derek's lies were exposed, the pieces of my heart scattered in front of me like broken glass. But as the tears dried on my cheeks, something else began to rise within me, something sharp, something cold. A fire, not born of anger, but of determination. I had been the victim long enough. No more. Derek and James had thought they could destroy me, tear apart my life, my love, with their lies and deceit. But what they didn't realize was that I was far stronger than they could ever imagine. They had underestimated me. They had underestimated how far I was willing to go. And now it was my turn to make them pay. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. That would be too easy, too obvious. No, this time I was going to play it smart. I would break them down slowly, meticulously, until they had nothing left. Derek thought he could control me, manipulate my every move, but I would be the one pulling the strings now. Christmas night arrived, and the tension in the air was palpable. Derek ever the manipulator, invited James over to celebrate the holiday together. The scene was set. Derek had no idea what was coming. He thought everything was fine. He thought I had forgiven him. And I let him think that. The night unfolded like a carefully rehearsed play. The table was set with holiday decor, candles flickering in the soft light, the smell of turkey filling the air. Derek was in high spirits, chatting about his plans for the new year, while James stayed quiet as he always did around me. But I wasn't pretending anymore. I had no intention of pretending for much longer. As I placed the plates on the table, I could feel the weight of the secret burning in my chest. Derek and James, both of them, had no idea what was coming. I smiled, but it wasn't a smile of affection. It was calm before the storm. "Everything's perfect, right?" I said, glancing from Derek to James. "Just like we planned." My voice was light, almost too light, and I could see Derek relax. He thought I was fine, thought he'd gotten away with it all. But I wasn't fine. I wasn't forgiving. I was playing a part. I set the wine glasses down, my eyes meeting Derek's. His smile faltered when I didn't look away, when I stared at him for a moment too long. But he covered it up quickly. "Yeah, babe," he said, his voice a little too smooth. "You're looking great. Just like always." I nodded, but inside my pulse quickened. This was it. The moment had arrived. The web I had been weaving was about to tighten around him. "I'm glad you invited James, Derek," I said casually. "It's been nice getting to know him better." The way I said it was deliberate, the undercurrent of my words clear. Derek stiffened slightly, but I could see James shift uncomfortably in his seat. They both knew what I was doing. The truth was written in the air, hanging heavy, but neither of them dared to speak it. Yet, I took a deep breath, letting the tension settle in the room, and then, just when I could see Derek beginning to relax again, I leaned forward slightly. I lowered my voice, making sure they both heard it. "You know, Derek, I've been thinking a lot about everything that's happened. All those little secrets you've been keeping from me. Funny how easily you thought you could manipulate me." Derek's smile faltered. His eyes widened ever so slightly. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. "I've been recording our conversations too," I said. My words hung in the air like a dagger, each one a slow burn. Derek froze, his face paling. James glanced between the two of us, his lips parting in confusion, but I could see the panic creeping into Derek's eyes. "You've been so careful with your words, Derek. So be careful with your lies." I leaned back in my chair, my hands resting on the table. "But you weren't careful enough." I pushed my chair back slightly, reached for the tablet on the table, and held it up. The same device that had exposed my pain now became my weapon, my shield. I tapped a few buttons, and the sound of Derek's own voice filled the air, cutting through the tension like a knife. "James, I'm telling you, it's working. Lena is so blinded by love, she has no idea what I'm doing behind her back. She's a fool for trusting me." The color drained from Derek's face as the words continued. I had been careful. I had made sure to gather every bit of evidence, every lie, every secret conversation. And now I was playing the final card. I let the video play, the words from Derek and James echoing around the room, each one a crushing blow to everything Derek thought was safe. "I've already put things in motion," Derek's voice said in the recording. "Lena won't suspect a thing. She'll believe every lie I tell her while I work behind the scenes with James. It's the perfect plan." Derek was shaking now, his hand gripping the edge of the table. James was staring at the floor, his face flushed as though he couldn't bear to look at me. But it wasn't over yet. I stood up slowly, my eyes never leaving Derek's. "You thought you could destroy me, didn't you, Derek?" I said, my voice steady, even calm. "But you're the one who's about to lose everything." I paused, savoring the moment before delivering the final blow. "I've already orchestrated the end of your career. The evidence I've gathered will ensure you lose everything. Your job, your reputation, your future, all gone. And all of it's in the hands of the people who can destroy you now." I saw Derek's face contort with panic as he grasped the reality of the situation. His breath came in shallow gasps. You can't," he whispered, but the fight was gone from his voice. I looked down at the tablet, then back at him. "Oh, but I can. You've done enough damage to me, Derek. And now, it's time for you to face the consequences of your actions. You don't get to play with people's hearts and get away with it. The room was silent except for the sound of Derek's labored breathing. I walked past him, my heart cold, but there was a glimmer of satisfaction in my chest. I had done it. I had taken back control. The tables had turned, and this time I wasn't the one left in the dark. As I reached the door, I glanced back one last time, my eyes locking with James. His face was full of guilt, but it wasn't enough. It never would be. "Happy holidays, guys," I said, the words dripping with a venomous sweetness before I walked out of the room, leaving them behind in the wreckage of their own making. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my life. And as I stepped out into the cold, I knew I was free. Free from their lies, free from the betrayal that had tried to destroy me.